Uh, um, why do I keep getting lost? Guys, welcome back to my channel. As always, if this is the first video that you guys are watching, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'd love for you to keep watching my videos in the future. So yeah, today is actually October 1st, so I decided since it's fall, I would wear some fall colors. Which you don't know is that this is actually a romper because it's fall, but it's still hot as fuck here, so I'm still going through with the fall colors. Anyways, for today's video, I actually want to do um, like a motherhood talk, beginning of motherhood, with starting with giving birth and what else, breastfeeding versus bottle feeding and co-sleeping. Those are three topics that from the day I became a mom, I have noticed how controversial those topics are, and I just wanted to give my little take on it and talk to you guys about it. In no way am I saying what I think or my opinion on this, or I'm not saying I'm right, and I'm not saying that that's the way it should be done. I'm just saying my experience. I've had 3 pregnancies, I have 3 girls, 3 different births, and it, even though you would think, oh, she has 3 kids, she's a pro by now. Each one has been different. Each pregnancy has been different. Each birth has been different. So you're always learning something new. So I just want to give a little insight on that and hear back from you guys, see how your experiences have gone. So like always, I have my little notebook here with some things I wrote down. You guys have noticed I do that a lot. I just like to make sure, I jot down things that I want to go over. So to start off with breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. This is such a major like dilemma when you're becoming a mom. And I bottle fed my first child, Daisy. She's the only one that I formula fed. And I didn't know any better, and to me, before I ever breastfed, to me it was just like weird just thinking about having a child all day, like on your nipple. Like, just the fact that you have someone sucking your nipple all day was just so weird to me that I didn't want to breastfeed her. And I didn't even try, honestly. I didn't. I just went straight to formula right after she was born, and they try to push that on you so much. I remember I had her in the hospital right after she was born. They want you to try to latch them on, and it's just, I didn't want to, and they try to force that onto you and kind of shame you for not wanting to breastfeed. So for my next 2 girls, I did breastfeed them. I breastfed my middle one, Darlene, for almost 2 years. And right now, Denise is 19 months. 19 months, and I only breastfeed her at night to get her to sleep, and that's it. She needs it to go to sleep, and not always. Sometimes she falls asleep on her own without having to breastfeed, but occasionally she still needs her milk to go to sleep. But that's it. And the thing that I don't like about when you don't breastfeed, like I said, I don't know why the shame, why the mom guilt when you don't want to breastfeed. And just because I did breastfeed after doesn't mean that I'm against formula feeding. The important thing is, the way I see it, that your child is fed and taken care of. The way you decide to do it shouldn't matter. And if you're a new mom, or you're about to become a new mom, don't let that mom guilt. Don't let people make you feel guilty or shame you for not wanting to breastfeed. If you don't want to do it, don't. It's your decision. It's your baby and your life. You do what you want, and you do what you think is best. Each one does have its pros and cons, and I wrote those down. Number one, for breastfeeding, they always tell you like the health benefits. It's so good for your baby to get the colostrum, that first milk that comes in, and all this stuff, that if you can breastfeed at least the first 6 months, that it's like so beneficial to them. And I've actually had a nurse tell me once, when I mentioned that I didn't breastfeed my first child, she she straight up asked me, she's like, oh, so I bet you can see a difference with her and your other two children. And it's like, actually no, like Daisy doesn't hardly ever get sick. And they tell you, I don't know if it's a Mexican thing, but I've heard that if you breastfeed them, they're gonna be more healthy, they're gonna be so much smarter, they're gonna be so much this and that. And honestly, Daisy is so freaking smart, so healthy. And I, not to compare her with my other two, but like Darlene, for example, my middle one, she's the first one that I breastfed. She ended up having speech delay. She ended up having her fine and her gross motor skills were like off, and she had like a teacher come home like once a week and teach, help her with that stuff. And I'm not saying that's correlated to her being breastfed versus not being breastfed, because she was breastfed, and I'm just saying like that doesn't make them any different. Each child is unique, each child has different capabilities. Right now she doesn't shut the hell up, she can talk like there's no tomorrow. So each child is different, each one will learn at their own pace. And that's one thing I've also learned. And I like right now Denise is also 19 months and she's still not talking either, and I'm not tripping because Darlene was the same way, so I'm okay with it. So yeah, the health benefits that they say for breastfeeding, I haven't witnessed that myself to be any different versus not breastfeeding them. The pros of breastfeeding, though, is that I have seen is that it's inexpensive. Obviously, your boob is just there. And formula feeding, oh my god, it is so expensive. Formula cans can go up to 20 freaking bucks for each can of formula. So if you're lucky enough to be able to qualify for WIC for mothers, then you're set. They hook you up with a lot of formula. But if your income is higher than that and you don't qualify for it, formula is so freaking expensive that, girl, I don't know how they do it. That's one pro for me to just breastfeed, because it's accessible, you have it right there. So that's one plus for me. Also, for breastfeeding, when it comes to, say maybe you don't want to exclusively breastfeed and you pump at the same time, I've also seen shaming on oh well, if you don't want to breastfeed your baby, well, at least pump the milk and they can drink it. But if you don't want to go through that extra hassle of having to pump, then you don't have to. I mean, I see mothers that do it and it's a lot of work, and props to them, but why shame the mothers who don't want to go through that hassle? And for me, that was, in all 3 pregnancies, that was such a difficult process for me. I was never a good pumper, never. I see moms who, like, they're posting on Instagram like the milk that they pump, and they have like all these ounces and bottles and everything stored, and I'm just like, when I try to pump, I would get like 2 ounces and that was it. Like, I wasn't getting anything else out. So props to those who pump, and props to those who don't want to pump. I don't see why it's such a big issue. Also, let's see. The only thing I didn't like about breastfeeding is that I myself personally do not and never felt comfortable just popping out my boob in public and feeding my child. I have nothing against those who do. I'm all for, exclusive breastfeeding in public. I'm all for it, for those who feel comfortable with it. Like, if you want to feed your child out in public, not have to cover up, I'm okay with it. I don't mind. It's just me personally, I never felt comfortable doing that. So that was always like a problem, like having to go somewhere, because I didn't want to cover up my child. I would rather go like hide somewhere or go in the car or just do it somewhere where it wasn't seen instead of having to cover her up. But that was one thing that was kind of hard, having to figure out that part of it. But the bonding that you get from breastfeeding your child is like no other. I will tell you that. That is one thing that 100% I will back up always. It's and then I'm not saying that I have a different love for my children, because I love each one of them the same and I love them to death. But I can see, I don't know how to explain it without making it seem like I have a favorite. But with Darlene, my middle one, that she was the first one I breastfed, I can just tell that there was a stronger bond by me that I feel was created by me breastfeeding her. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what makes that bond stronger, but it that does exist. It's true that breastfeeding just creates that bond that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that is one thing that is different, bottle feeding and breastfeeding, that breastfeeding does make a stronger bond between you and your child. But let's see. So yeah, bottle feeding, like I said, cons is that it's super expensive. Formula is super expensive, but it's convenient. It's on the go. You can make a bottle anywhere. Especially if you're not comfortable like just whipping out your boobs anywhere, then bottle feeding would probably be a better option if you don't want to have to go through that struggle, because you can just make a bottle comfortably anywhere and you don't have to worry about that. But one thing I did notice, and I want to ask you guys that anyone who has formula fed one child and breastfed another child, because I noticed, and I don't know if it's just me and I'm weird and crazy, but I noticed that with Daisy, which is the one that I formula fed, she would burp. When I would burp her, she would burp so much, and she would like vomit. She would throw up a lot. She would spit up a lot of her milk, like a lot. And I noticed that with my other two that were breastfed, they never had that issue. Like they never spit up their milk. Like maybe if they over drink or something, they would spit out a little bit, but it's not like they were throwing it up, They never had that issue. And I noticed too that when I would burp them, like I would burp them forever and ever and ever, and they just wouldn't burp. I don't know if it's like less gassy or I don't know, but I did notice that, and I thought that was kind of funny that formula does that to them. But yeah, I think I wanted to throw something else in there and I forgot. Oh, another thing with both, either one that you choose, either breastfeeding or bottle feeding, your boobs are going to hurt like a mother. Really bad. Really freaking bad. No matter which one you choose. With breastfeeding or with formula feeding, when my boobs were so engorged because you're not secreting, you're not letting any milk out, so they're just like, it all builds up and the pain is unbearable. I remember not even trying to go to sleep at night and just laying on my side, just my boob barely touching the bed was so much pain, like unbelievable. It's a different pain from breastfeeding, because breastfeeding what hurt, well for me at least, was my nipple, them sucking on it at first, or especially with Darlene, which was the first one I breastfed. Once Denise came along, like I had already breastfed, so I guess like my body was used to it. It wasn't as painful. But with Darlene, first time breastfeeding, hurt really, really bad. And then also one thing that I noticed with breastfeeding is that you get really bad cramping. Really, really bad. And it's weird because it's only, well at least for me, it was only as they were eating, as they were being fed, that they were sucking the milk out. As that is going on, like I could feel like cramping down in my like lower stomach, and it's the weirdest feeling, because it's like you can't, like you want them to stop sucking, because every time they suck it's just like contracting. And I've heard that that's like your muscles like getting themselves back into place. I don't know if that's true, but I did feel that, and I felt that only with Darlene. With Denise, like I said, I had already gone through that, so I guess my body had been used to it, but it was really bad, like contracting. But they say that's what helps you get back into your stomach back into place. But That was another thing that I experienced with that. So I think that pretty much covers breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. I think there was something else I wanted to add, but I didn't write it down and I totally forgot, but that's okay. Um, but yeah, whatever you decide to do, breastfeed or give your baby formula, don't ever let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing one over the other. You choose what you think is best for you and your child, and that's what matters. So now moving on to another big one, natural birth versus epidural. I'm going to go over those two. You know, there's also births at home or a water birth or whatever, but I haven't and I will not go through those. So I'm just going to tell you guys about natural birth versus epidural. So with my first two, I got an epidural. And their births were similar in the way that they were really long labors. I was there for hours and hours and hours. With my first, I got induced. With my second, I didn't, but they were still very long births. So I ended up getting an epidural with both of them. I think I was already 7 centimeters dilated with each when I decided to get it. I just could not tolerate the pain anymore. And I decided to get it. And with my last, I was going to get it. It was in my plan to get an epidural because I'm not trying to tolerate any pain that I don't have to if I can get an epidural. So my plans were to get an epidural, but I literally barely made it in time to the hospital to even have that child. Like in an hour, not even an hour of me getting to the hospital, that baby had been born. So I had no time. By the time I got there, they asked me, well, you know, what are your plans? What do you want to do? And I told them, like, I want the epidural. I cannot take this pain anymore. And they're like checking me in. And it was just so fast that by the time that they put me in a room, I literally got to the room that they were going to put me in. And in the wheelchair, as they're trying to get me off the wheelchair onto the bed, my water broke. And then they laid me down on the bed, and I was already 9-10 centimeters dilated. So there was no time. They told me that was it, you know, time to push. I didn't have time for an epidural. And let me just tell you, oh my God, an epidural is magic. It's heaven on earth. You will not feel anything. I know in some cases an epidural doesn't really kick in and you still feel at least pressure or something. I didn't feel anything. I was able to push them out and feel nothing. So up to you if you decide to get it or not, but I'm just telling you, it works wonders. And versus a natural birth is the most painful thing I have gone through in my life. If I thought that my other two labors were hard, like, no, they were long, but they were easy. This one was quick, and I thought I was gonna die. I'm not even gonna bullshit. I thought I was gonna die. And I would always, like, not make fun, but I would always tell my husband, like, after having my first two, like, oh my God, like, that was not a piece of cake, but that was easy birth. It wasn't that bad. Like, I don't know how other women go crazy and they're screaming and they're, you know, all crazy and stuff. I didn't understand how women were like that until my third with no epidural. I was that crazy bitch just screaming at the top of my lungs. Like, I could not deal with it. I thought I was gonna die. I kept telling the doctor that I couldn't do it. And when it came time to push, I was screaming, oh my God, I have to take a shit. And he's like, you don't have to. It's the baby coming. You're not gonna shit. But it's just, that was the worst pain ever. So my advice to anyone is, if you're in time for an epidural and you are in so much pain, don't tolerate it if you don't have to. Just get the epidural. That's my opinion. I would do it. I'm not having any more kids, but if I did, give me the epidural, like, right now, because I ain't trying to go through that again. That was excruciating pain. But again, each one has its pros and cons. For the natural birth, it was painful like crazy. But I felt like, at least in my opinion, I felt like I finally got to experience, I thought I had already experienced a true like labor experience. And I had, because obviously I had kids. It wasn't fake, it was true. But I just felt like giving birth naturally is just like you get a whole other perspective on it. Like that, I feel like that's really giving birth, when you feel everything. But I wouldn't want to do it again. So yeah. I also felt like it was an easier recovery than when I got an epidural. And I don't know if that's because you go through the worst pain ever at that moment, that anything after that is just like whatever, like piece of cake, compared to an epidural that I didn't feel anything at the moment, but after all the soreness and everything goes away, the medication goes away, you can feel like, even if it's not pain, like you can feel the uncomfortableness of it. Is that a word? But I noticed that. So I I did think that a natural birth was easier to recover from. C-section, I also can't speak on that because I haven't had one. I didn't get to have one, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. I've heard it's pretty difficult sometimes for recovery as well, but yeah, I didn't go through that. One thing about the epidural though is that I myself have experienced back pain from it, and I experienced it more when it's colder weather. I've noticed that, and it's not nothing like really drastic, really bad that I can't tolerate, but it's there, you know, and it didn't used to be there before until I got those epidurals. So back pain is a side effect, I guess, from getting the epidural. But yeah, again, like I've heard stories of women that are told that you have to take the pain, you have to have birth, give birth naturally, medication, no this, no that. If you feel like you cannot tolerate the pain, there's no need to. It's just, to me, it's just do everything on your own terms, not the way people want you to do things. And if you have a birth plan and it doesn't go accordingly, it's all gonna work out for the best. And don't kick yourself in the ass about it, because things don't turn out always the way you plan them to. And I learned that with my third, because yeah, it was, that one was just crazy. Nothing would have gone according to plan, but it all works out. So my last topic is co-sleeping. And co-sleeping, you would think it's not such a big deal, but when I have talked to other women about it and stuff, I get so much backlash, and I'm like, why the hell do you care? But it's, I don't know why it's such a big deal to people and why it's such a controversial topic. But co-sleeping, me and my husband still sleep with all three of our girls. I'm just gonna put it out there. They have their own room, yes, but well, if it was up to me, honestly, they'd be in their room. But my husband is the one that's always saying that, you know, they're only little ones. Why can't you just let them sleep with us? And they're gonna grow up and they're gonna be, you know, on their own. Like, just let them sleep with us while they're little. And to me, it's like, no, what? Like, I already want them on their own. But he's the one that, so we kind of have our own little issues there about that. But I have co-slept with all three of them since they were newborns. We got a crib for Daisy. We had the same crib for Darlene, and we never used it. That was just like an excuse to like throw crap in there and just keep it as like storage. But so after Darlene, I sold it. I sold the crib, and then here comes Denise, and I didn't even bother buying one because I knew what was the point if I never used it with the first two. And yeah, we've never used the crib in our lives, never. And to me, co-sleeping is the best thing ever, honestly. It is frowned upon like you will not believe. They say there's risk involved with SIDS, the sudden infant death syndrome, if you guys have heard of that. It's when babies, I think up to a year old, or maybe a little more than that, are supposed to sleep on their own in a crib with no bumpers, no blankets, no pillows, nothing, just the baby itself in the crib on its back, because they can die unexpectedly from SIDS. To me, that was a fear with all three of them, but I was just always constantly checking on them. So it's not like I just let them sleep on the bed and that's it. And even though we did share a bed with the other girls, I always made sure the baby was like on the opposite side. I don't know, like we just made it work. But yeah, it's just so frowned upon, and to me, it just works. It just works for you to keep your sanity, because with Daisy, my first one, she was the worst at staying up. She would be up all night. It would be 3, 4 in the morning, and I would be like rocking her back and forth in the room. Like it was just horrible. And the only way, next thing you know, I would wake up like sitting in bed and I'm holding my kid, and I never knew when the hell she fell asleep. Like I would knock out probably before she did. It was the worst with her. And I don't know why that is, but I don't know if to correlate that to breastfeeding, and that's when I think like things are correlated somehow, because with my other two that were breastfed, they have been the best sleepers ever, especially Denise, my little one right now. From the day she was born, she has slept through the night, every night. Darlene would wake up occasionally, but I would just breastfeed her and she'd be back to sleep. And so I don't know if there's a correlation there, or it's just that's the way it worked out with my kids, that the two that were breastfed were the good ones and the other one was freaking wild. But yeah, it's just, and because of the fact that I did breastfeed them, co-sleeping just worked out so much better, because you don't have to get up and make a bottle and get your child out and just stay up until they're done. Honestly, like breastfeeding and co-sleeping go hand in hand, at least for me. You wake up, you whip out your boob, your child's already laying down next to you, you feed them, and they're back to sleep quick. And for some reason with bottle feeding and co-sleeping, it wasn't like that. It's just I still had to get up out of bed and make a bottle and burp her, and she wouldn't go to sleep, and it was crazy. But I've noticed that when you breastfeed your child and you co-sleep, it's just for your sanity, because it's so much easier. It keeps you sane. At least it did for me, and I recommend it. But I know it's really frowned upon, so I mean, to each their own. But yeah, and the child actually gets used to sleeping with you and knowing that the boob is right there. And we've gotten to the point when they were a little bit like maybe 5, 6 months, where they already knew that the boob was right there. So they would wake up, feed themselves, and I would still be asleep and comfortable as ever. And it was just, it works out, honestly. So that's for you guys to keep in mind, and you do what you gotta do. And yeah, I think that's basically it. I just wanted to make this video because I know I have a lot of I've seen a lot of women on Instagram, a lot of girls that I follow that are becoming first-time moms. They're pregnant right now, so congratulations to any of you who, or even if it's not your first child. Like I said, every child is different, even if you've had a million of them. They're all different. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video for that. Maybe not so much as advice, but just to let you know how it's been for me and what's worked for me. And if any of that can work for you, then that would be amazing. But the main point of this was to just offer it without any judgment, because I see so much of that out there. So much judgment, so much shaming for you not doing what other people want you to do or expect society to do. You know, You don't follow what other people are following. It's your life, it's your child, and you just do what works for you. So if any of this can help, then that's great. And if you guys don't agree with me and have had different experiences, that's great too. But yeah, that's just the purpose of this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. We're almost at 80 subscribers, and that $100 crochet giveaway is still going on. Once we reach 100 subscribers, we are going to do that giveaway. So all you need to do is, if you haven't heard or seen me announce it, you just need to go down to my $100 crochet giveaway video. Make sure you're subscribed and comment under that video, and that's it. You're entered to win. So yeah, just spread the word out so we can reach those 100 subscribers finally. I'm so excited, and then we can do that giveaway. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to like this video, comment, and subscribe, guys. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.